Oh, how I wish I was rich. Eliza Melvin sighed deeply, dropping her work in her lap, her eyes filled with frustration as she looked up at her mother. Why can't I be rich, like Clara Payson? There she goes, riding in her father's grand carriage, wearing her fine clothes, acting so proud. While here I am, stuck sewing, sewing, sewing all day long. What is my purpose in this world? Why should it be like this? She continued, voice trembling. Why should one person have enough to waste, while another is starving? Why should one sit idle, while another works day and night? Why do some have everything, and others nothing? Eliza, Mrs. Melvin said gently, taking her daughter's hand and pushing the hair from her flushed face. Why are you so upset, my dear? Why has your usual peace disappeared? Why are you letting these thoughts take over? Don't you remember that God is always good? No, Mother, Eliza replied softly, but sometimes it just doesn't make sense to me. Why does he allow all this suffering? Wiser people than either you or I have struggled with these same thoughts, said Mrs. Melvin. But the believers believes that everything, even our trials, is part of God's plan, and he works everything for our good. Sometimes, the person we envy for one blessing is secretly envious of something we have. But, my child, why do you want to be rich? Eliza paused, thinking. Mother, this morning, I walked through a narrow, dirty street. A group of ragged children were gathered around one boy who was crying bitterly. I pushed through and spoke to him. He told me his sister had died, his father was sick, and he was hungry. There was so much pain in those words. But that boy, he had no shoes, his clothes were torn, his hair was sun-bleached, and yet, through his tears, he smiled, almost cheerfully. He led me to his home. Oh, Mother, if you had seen that room. Broken stairs, dark and dirty. The man said they couldn't afford a coffin for his sister. He was dying too. He said they might as well be buried together. Are you sure, Eliza, that you can't help them? Mrs. Melvin asked, her voice soft but firm. Put on your bonnet, my dear, and go to our sexton. Tell him to arrange for a proper burial. Our charitable society will cover the cost. Then, visit Doctor, the physician. He'll help the sick man. Then, go to those you know who have, as you say, bread to waste. Tell them about this little boy. Even if you don't have money to give, you have your voice. You can speak for those who are suffering. In this way, you'll bless the poor, and you'll bless the rich too. For it is more blessed to give than to receive. Eliza followed her mother's advice. Hours later, she returned, her face glowing with excitement. Mother, you won't believe what has happened. The dead was taken care of with dignity. The sick man was seen by the doctor, and his pain eased by kind words. The room is being cleaned and aired. And that little boy, he was eating a big slice of bread, with his family sharing the rest of the loaf. Mrs. Melvin smiled gently. It's good, my daughter. I sent you on that errand because I wanted you to see how much good you can do, even with small means. She then pulled out a picture. I want you to keep this as a reminder of today. It's called The Widow's Pot of Oil. Will you read the story that goes with it? Eliza opened her pocket Bible, the one she always carried to Sunday school. Look at this picture, my daughter, Mrs. Melvin said. The pot of oil is so small, yet see how many vessels were filled. The widow had only a little, but she had faith, and she worked hard. Her sons kept bringing empty jars, and God kept filling them. She didn't stop when one jar was full. She kept going, trusting that God would provide more. And he did. Her small pot of oil filled many large vessels. She paused, her eyes soft with wisdom. Remember, my daughter, when you feel you have little to give, think of the widow's pot of oil. Use what you have, no matter how small. When one task is done, start another. One stitch at a time, a beautiful garment is made. One brick at a time, a strong house is built. And like the widow, your small efforts can bring about big blessings. Eliza's eyes filled with tears. Oh, Mother, I never want to feel that way again. I'll keep this picture with me always.